WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Thursday morning. We had to go and meet some people at a restaurant down in Tampa not too long ago, and we weren't familiar with the area, so we have a GPS system. And I have the GPS system, and I sometimes use it around town, even though I know everything in town. So I don't really need it. I just like hearing the lady telling me where to go. So in this case, I really needed some help. I really needed to have that navigator. Do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
And it is so helpful when you're in unfamiliar territory to have something or someone who can kind of give you guidance on where to go. And while that was kind of a silly intro, it's not about a silly topic today. It's a very serious topic. It's about cancer. And in the studio, we have some ladies who are going to help us understand how to navigate cancer. Jolene Hetsler. I just was introduced to Jolene. Good morning, Jolene. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thank you.
Did I say your name right? Hetsler?
Yes.
Is that right? You're, in addition to being a registered nurse, you're the oncology patient navigator for Ocala Health.
That's correct.
Wow. So I want to find out what you do.
Sure.
But hold on. Let me introduce your other co-on-air people. Hayley, Creasey, you're also a registered nurse. I made you trip on the way in because you have a handshake like a football player. And you're here also with Ocala Health. So good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. Good morning.
And the lady to your right is Suzanne Santangelo, and she's taking pretty pills. I don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
But look at you.
It's all over today.
Do you know what it is?
I tell you, I need to come more often.
I don't know if this happens to you ladies. I don't know if you have, when a guy watches a movie and there's like a female lead star. I'm going to use Rocky as an example. Remember Rocky? Anybody remember this movie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. Remember Adrian?
Yes.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, she didn't look like much. But by the end of the movie, it got prettier and prettier. That's what's happening to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
What are you doing?
That.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
How do you take that?
Life in Ocala, I guess, is doing it, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming in. So, it's a super serious topic, and of course, I'm trying to be silly along the way. Do you do the one? This is the one disease, cancer. That, oh gosh Almighty, none of you are on the picture. Now you're on the picture. Okay, sorry. So when you watch the video later on, all it was is WOCA's logo, but you could hear us talking. Now you're on the picture. I'm sorry, I was distracted.
That's right. You ladies are gorgeous.
All right, so it seems to be the disease that is the scariest word, but yet the one that we hear good news about all the time. It seems like there's always something in the news. Are we being given promises? What do you think? Do we have a lot of good stuff happening in the world of cancer?
Well, I believe so.
Yeah.
I think that when you talk about oncology and cancer care in general, we're champions of hope. You know, there's a lot of research being done
Champions
for that,
of hope.
and so we're just here to kind of help them along that path and remind them of it.
See, that would be my first question, Jolene. If I was told I had cancer, and then I was introduced to my navigator, you. First of all, I say, thank God. Thank God there's a navigator. But my first question would be, I read something that there's a cure. Is it not true? And what would your response be to that?
You know, there's often talk about cancer cures. There's all kinds of things in development. While I'm not directly aware that there is a cure for cancer, I know that there are ways to treat it, to trick it, to put patients into remission, and there's a lot of different modalities to do that. So there's definitely hope still embedded in the meaning.
So is that part of what you have to deal with on a daily basis, is telling it like it is, so that we don't get too much hope, but at the same time enough hope?
Sure, in a compassionate manner. And that just goes along with being a patient advocator, you know.
And is this a myth or truth? Because I've always heard that everybody has cancer cells, but they're all dormant.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Is that true, or is that
So
false?
basically the way that cells replicate is that cells are basically divide in normal patterns, and so there's certain mutations that take place. And it is true that a lot of patients will have a certain amount of blast cells, and the body kind of just programs them out, basically. We just kind of, our body gets rid of those foreign things. And so basically every now and again there is an actual mutation that kind of takes over, and then it crowds out those healthy cells, and that's when they become a problem. Our bodies are really good at replicating cells, and if there's some sort of mishap in that pattern, it's going to replicate in a bad way, and then those become problematic.
Really? Hayley, how are you again?
I'm great.
You're so pretty. Look at you.
Oh, thank you.
Let me
I'm
ask
coming
you,
here again, too.
Let me ask you this. When somebody has cancer, do you know right from the beginning that they are going to be a success story? Does attitude play a role? Do you see that?
Attitude is everything, I think, in support systems, and that's where really Jolene is such a newfound kind of power pill, if you will. It's really a champion.
Power pill.
Yeah, it is. She absolutely is. You know, to be able to have the support and in navigating just the diagnosis is a crisis. It's not only to that person, but also to family and their loved ones and friends. And so to have that support and empowerment and it's a hope. You know, what are we going to do? What's that next step? But also the reality of the situation is also vital, just to make the best of everything. So she helps to really deal with many of the crises points to kind of make it a little bit more palatable and easy to deal with.
Is it a family disease? If one person gets cancer, does the whole family become part of the cure or part of the therapy? Or
yeah, the impact is huge. So that's one thing I like about navigation. We're very holistic, especially in the periods when a patient doesn't feel up to advocating for themselves. That family member is going to step right in, and they're going to be that next go-to person. So they're also going to need help through it. They're going to have a lot of their own personal psychosocial, psychological struggles as well. Right. If this changes a patient's income status, if they're no longer able to work, it can affect the families that way with practical concerns. So it definitely does. It's very well said. I mean, it affects the patients and the family members all the way down the line, so they become part of it.
We were told that lung cancer is the leading cancer death for people. Why is it that sometimes when people have lung cancer, it's all contained and it can be removed and fixed, and in other people, it just moves all over rapidly?
So that's really part of one of our biggest things at Ocala Health is being, you know, our cancer hospital. We really are focused on not only doing the treatment, but also the education, the prevention, and the awareness. What we typically see, and especially in our community, is latent stage disease or end stage disease, because it doesn't have any real symptoms generally until you're getting to that point where it's more noticeable, which is more of an end stage or a later stage. And so what we're trying to do is create more of an awareness. You know, in our hospitals, we may see an incidental finding or an accidental finding. Someone falls, they hurt their side. We do a scan, and we find that you have nodules.
Oh,
and that's
really?
Where we see a lot of the diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I hope I never fall.
Yeah, no. And that's where the incidental findings come. So how can we shift that in Marion County and our community to really talk more about getting that prevention education? And one of the biggest things that we have some assets moving forward to be on that, you know, the fast track and staying ahead of the curve for healthcare is doing lung cancer screenings. So if you think about a screening, it's kind of like our mammograms. Women get their mammograms every year.
Okay.
Lung screening is a new thing that's really up in the forefront to where we can start doing more, finding things earlier to, again, see if that surgeon can remove it, and they could be potentially cured at that point.
So do we all just sign up for this, or do we have to have a feeling that something's wrong, or?
No, actually, this is one of the shared discussions that you need to have with your primary care provider. You also have to fall into certain brackets, so 55 to 74-year age range, asymptomatic, meaning
You're that old, Robin?
You qualify.
So making sure that you're asymptomatic or no symptoms whatsoever, and then having a smoking history is you can either be an avid smoker right then and there or have a history of smoking, and you have to fall into a pack per day for 30 years or 2 packs per 15 years. And again, those are discussions that have to take place with your primary care provider to make sure that there's some shared decision making to know what you're up against.
So the doctor gives you the news. We've detected cancer. Probably never in a million years did I ever think there was a navigator that will be introduced to me. So after the break, we'll come back and find out what's that like for the patient. They're told you've got cancer. Let me introduce you to Jolene. Right? And see how that all works out and what that's like. So we'll take a little break and be right back. Hayley Creasey is here, Jolene Hetsler is here, and Suzanne Santangelo from Ocala Health. We're talking about cancer. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, sunshine mixed with clouds and quite warm, high 85 to 89. Partly cloudy tonight, low 69 well inland, 75 along the coast. For tomorrow and Saturday, times of sun and clouds. There can be a shower with thunderstorm in spots, mainly during the afternoon hours of each day. The high both days 85 to 89. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We're saving thousands with Robert Palmer.
So rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around. If you're trying to get a mortgage, if you're trying to get the best credit card, if you're looking at student loans, cell phone bills, you name it, rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around.
That's rule number one, just one more vital part of fighting back to stop being a financial zombie. Yes, you can take the mystery out of the complicated world of finances. Take charge when it comes to your money. Listen in on The Source, 96.3 FM and 1370 AM, Saturdays at 12:05.
Join R&D Tactical Solutions at Ocala Gun Range, Saturday, November 14th from 3 to 6 p.m. for the Star and Shield benefit in support of local law enforcement and the families of fallen disabled officers with bullseye shooting competition and more. Yes, it's open to the public. Proudly sponsored by R&D Tactical Solutions, WOCA Radio, Big Country Entertainment, and Black Bear Smokehouse, located in the Anthony Industrial Park next to the Supervisor of Elections. The Star and Shield benefit, Saturday, November 14th from 3 to 6 p.m.
The Florida State Seminoles travel to Clemson, South Carolina in a game that could decide the bid for the national championship tournament. Will it be Clemson or Florida State representing the ACC? Find out by tuning in this Saturday at 3:30 for Florida State Clemson, brought to you by Tri-Eagle Sales, your local distributor of Bud Light in the Ocala, Marion County community. Florida State football this Saturday at 3:30. Don't miss it on The Source.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
All right, 17 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We're talking about cancer. We're talking about the navigator when you have cancer. We're talking about cancer screenings as well. And if you have a question about any of these things, you are invited to call in right now. But of course, there's another number you can call all the time, and we'll get that number as well. Just to reintroduce you to our guest, Suzanne Santangelo is here. She's the director of marketing at Ocala Health, and she has invited our other two beautiful guests. They are Hayley Creasey. She's talking about screenings for lung cancer specifically, right? Is that right, Hayley?
Correct.
And Jolene Hetsler is a navigator for cancer. So let's pick up where we left off. So I get the bad news. I'm told I'm going to meet a navigator. Do you come to my house? Do I go to your house? What do we do? How do I begin this relationship?
So usually what will happen is that the patient is encouraged to reach out to me, or I reach out to them. We definitely can meet at the hospital. There's such a vast ability to help patients and just be there for them. So we've even offered to meet patients at doctor's appointments to help guide them through their process just as soon as we can. As soon as we know there's a diagnosis, I'm able to become involved and let them know that they're not alone, and to be their personal guide and let them know they have someone championing for their care.
You have to listen too, don't you? I mean, you have to know what their religious beliefs are and what their family life is like, right? Don't you have to know all those things?
You do. There's a certain amount of sensitivity that goes into it, like right off the bat. And
wow.
It's not to get into their personal information and things, but it's just meant to kind of holistically help them and guide them through.
And that's one of the hardest parts, is when a person is ill and then they are diagnosed with cancer, they want to turn inward and become very private. So you actually have to get them out of that shell to have them work with the different professionals and then tell the family what's going on.
That's correct. That's actually really profound, and we actually do see that a lot. But when the patients see the advocacy in action, they kind of, so to speak, they kind of yield to that, and they see that I have that sole purpose in mind, helping them to connect those dots. And you believe it or not, it brings people together that in such a situation, you know, cancer is such a scary thing, and then it brings people together that you wouldn't even know you'd ever meet. And so they're able to basically bond, so to speak, in that time to help yield so that I can help them through the process. The trust is developed very quickly.
Do you stay in touch when it's all done, when they're cured or in remission?
I can. We do have a series of where we put them into a survivorship mode. As long as all of those pieces that need to be in place, the patients are usually referred back to their primary care provider with a set of recommendations so that they can help for future screenings. Now that they're a cancer survivor, there's a little bit different things involved. They need to make sure they're doing proper skin care and things like that. So we give them a list of those things to empower them, send them on their way. But by all means, if a patient still wants to reach out, and we do encourage them to be active in the community, help champion for others. You know, now that you're in that survivorship period, you get to say, look, this is what I went through. I'm still here. I made it through, and it offers hope to the next
Give
generation.
somebody else some hope. Yeah.
Sometimes the person that's diagnosed with cancer, they're still working, and they're the breadwinner of the family. How do you convince them that they're not going to lose their job?
Yeah, and I can't promise that they won't lose their job, but I definitely can continue to provide them with alternate resources. And I think education is really a big part of it. Patients need to understand there might be times when they don't feel good. So if I can help them to give them an idea of when their counts might be too low, it may be a time when they shouldn't work. They should listen to what their physician tells them in those instances as well to make sure that they're being 100% safe. But by all means, we do encourage the patients to maintain those normal everyday activities, and if work is one of those, as long as a physician has cleared them, they should do so. But just to continue to champion for them and make sure they know if the time comes they can't work, you know, send them on to that next step. Is it time for disability benefits, or is it time to exploit certain resources that I can help and line them with?
I would much rather have your voice on my GPS. Can we record her voice?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Turn around.
Make a U-turn.
Mine says, yeah, make a U-turn. What's the matter with you?
No feeling at all.
I would rather you say make a U-turn. Just make a U-turn, Larry. Let's make a U-turn. You missed your place. You got to go. Hayley, let me ask you this. How do you screen for lung cancer? Is there a big machine you have to stand behind or something?
Yeah, so it's a low-dose CT machine that they have, that they'll utilize to be able to do the screening, and it's read by radiologists. And so patients will set up an appointment. It's just an outpatient piece where they would go in and obtain the screening, and then they would get followed up in a registry database. And so that way we can make sure patients don't fall through the cracks and they're getting to their next level of providers and would connect with our navigator.
So sometimes people will say, the doctor saw a spot on my lung, and now we're worried for the next 2 weeks until you find out what that spot is. Is that what you see, is the spot, or is it something more advanced than that?
It just depends. Whatever the scan shows, that would be read by the radiologist, and then they would be able to give more definition and whether they need to be referred to an actual cardiothoracic surgeon or over to their medical oncologist, a new medical oncologist, to help to walk them through those pieces.
Does this? I don't know if it's a dumb question, but does the lung regenerate if you took a part of the lung out? Like I heard that the liver does this. If you had a part of your liver taken out, it would grow back. Is any truth to any of that stuff? No.
One of the things that we can talk about too that kind of coincides with November being Lung Cancer Awareness Month is smoking cessation, and stopping actually can rejuvenate and revitalize your lungs just by cessation of tobacco and smoking.
Just quitting, yeah. Mm-hmm. I quit. I smoked cigars for a long time, she'll tell you. And but never cigarettes, so I wasn't an inhaler. But I'm sure that the smoke must have got in there, right? Did any of you smoke? Huh? I'm the only one in the whole room? Let me shrink over here, Robin.
The person I married to, he was cancer-free from lung cancer for 5 months in August, and you guys did a bang-up job for him. But his lung cancer was all contained in the left lung, so he had to have that whole lung removed. But thank God, in 5 years, it hasn't returned. Would there be a fear that it would?
That's incredible. Yeah, there's always that vigilance, and there's sometimes, I think survivors, one of the biggest things that they say is that there's always that fear of how do I always have this ongoing fear of being able to have a recurrence and something happening, but it's learning to live a new survivorship way, learning to live in that new light and being able to be vigilant with your navigator, with your support team to make sure you're following up on the protocol of survivorship, to make sure that you're meeting all your appointments and you're continuing that level of vigilance.
So talking about smoking cessation and going to the navigator's role, let's say cancer's diagnosed, but they don't quit. They're just not wanting to quit. Do you kind of work with them to quit at that point?
We do. On a personal note, my parents both smoke, and they've tried for years to quit, and so I'm very sensitive to the fact that it's an addicting process. So the best thing that we can do is just to continue to empower patients, know what resources are out there. They're definitely encouraged to call me. There are, there's the QUIT program through American Cancer Society. We have Quit Docs. There's a lot of community involvement to where they don't have to feel like they're alone. So that's what I would tell a patient, that if that's having trouble quitting smoking, you're not alone. There are things that we can do, and definitely a navigator can help with that.
Do these electronic cigarettes make a difference? Or is that just another bad habit?
They're still getting exposure to the nicotine. It does decrease the smoke. I know there has been studies, and they're still kind of evolving that and wrapping themselves around it. I know that some physicians do advocate for doing that as an initial step. Ultimately, quitting smoking is the goal.
I don't know if it's smoke or steam that comes out of those things, but it's a lot. I see the kids sometimes walking past here. They got to get that last breath, and it looks like a train. Have you seen them, these things? All right, we have like 3 minutes. Let's squeeze in a phone call. If you can put your headset on. There it is. Okay, here we go. Let's take this phone call. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Hey, good morning, Larry and Robin.
Good morning.
Hey, yeah, this is Stephen Fletcher. Your old friend.
Oh, hey, Stephen.
Hey, could I get that number again to those guys?
Sure. I don't think we give it out yet.
Did you to the navigator? Is that
what you want? The number for the navigator?
Right, to the cancer. Yeah, we're talking about cancer.
Right.
Sure. The number is 352 401 1534.
And that number goes right to Jolene. That's Jolene's number.
That's correct.
Did you get it?
Yes, I did. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. That was an easy question. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Yes, thank you for this program. As far as colon cancer is concerned, I recently, on vacation, it was in a different city, and I was watching a health program on colon cancer, and they said they recommended that after age 50, every 5 years, if there's nothing in the family, up to age 75. Is that true, and why would age 75 be a stopping point?
They're contemplating.
Yeah, their guidelines do change, and so that's important to follow up with your primary care provider to make sure that you are staying vigilant. If you have a family history, if you have any history or any concerns or questions, to have those conversations. And sometimes it is a continuation. It just depends on what type of actual screening that they're willing to do and they're going to continue doing. And a lot of times it has to do with reimbursement as well, but we certainly encourage you to follow up with your provider to make sure you're staying on that regimen.
All right. Thank you for the call. We've got about a minute left. Let's make sure we give out the information. And I know you just gave your phone number. Jolene, could you do it one more time, please?
Sure. The number is 352 401 1534.
Okay. And any other phone numbers we need?
Yeah, well, I'll just give out the regular, the healthcare number that we have where you can call and speak to a nurse or get a physician referral is 800-530-1188.
And websites? Any websites we give out? No.
Sure.
Oh, we do? Okay.
OcalaHealthSystem.com, and you'll find all this information there. Actually, there's a section on patient navigation for our oncology program there, too. You can read a little bit more about it.
Okay, excellent. And there's usually a phone number for Ask a Nurse or something like that?
Yeah, that's the consultant nurse. That's the health line, right.
Right. Suzanne, thank you again for coming in.
You're welcome.
Hayley and Jolene, thank you, ladies, for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Good information. For those of you who want to share this information, we did videotape that, except in the beginning I forgot to push the button. You can hear it, but you can see the rest of it. We'll take a little break. It'll be on Facebook and YouTube by 2 o'clock. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Egypt and Russia say it's too early to say why a Russian airliner crashed, but others are taking action.
Britain has suspended flights between the UK and Sharm el-Sheikh, the resort from where the Russian plane took off.
Fox's Simon
Prime
Owen.
Minister Cameron calling it a precautionary measure.
We cannot be certain that the Russian airliner was brought down by a terrorist bomb, but because it's a strong possibility, it's right to act.
As it happens, Cameron is meeting today with Egyptian President